Welcome to Slasher Sunday. Moving on to Bates Motel Season 2. What did you think compared to the season before this?
It was great. It was wonderful. I really love this show a lot. And it's just a good continuation. Lots more stuff happened.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about the subplots outside of Norman and Norma?
Like all the drug stuff and everything.
Sure, all of it.
I'm interested in all of it. I think it's all good. I mean, we talked about it in season 1. I think that it adds, it just adds to the town and like having this corruption going on and having Norma, becoming involved in it and all of that. I think it just makes sense that there would need to be other things going on than just Norma and Norman together.
Sure. I mean, the show would be like a limited series, right? It'd be like
right.
10 episodes. To get Norma and Norman's relationship up to the point where Norman eventually kills his mom and drags her body around, gets arrested, right? You just get a play out of Psycho, maybe before Psycho even, like right leading up to like maybe the last shot of the show is like Marion pulling up to the Bates Motel.
Right.
Like I think that's what some people would have preferred, because I say this biggest complaint I see with this show is like the Norman and Norma stuff is excellent. Everything else can go.
Oh, I don't feel that way at all. And I think that having the other stuff, because, the Bates family is involved in this, like, seedy underground that's happening, just adds to, like, Norman's character, like, why he would be so messed up. Like, he's messed up before they even moved there, obviously. But then also having all this, like, illegal, like, activity going on, like, in his life with his family members and whatnot. Yeah. It's just kind of like he's got a messed up childhood, like, which just adds to his character, I think.
Sure.
And I like that. I like all the other characters. Like I'm interested in Dylan. I really like his addition to the story in general. So I care about like what's going on with him and his bosses and the warring drug families, and I care about Emma and everything. So it's like. Aside from, those are the two main ones, and then you have Norma and, like, the city council stuff and everything, and I thought all of that was really interesting and great to see because she's just such a complex character, and she's definitely, like, one of those characters that you really love to hate her, but I also can't help but feel, like, sympathy for her and, like, want her to be happy. It's really bizarre, and I think that just speaks to, the performance, of course, but also the writing for the show.
Yeah, I don't mind any of the addition. Like, it makes perfect sense to me to expand upon the lore. I don't find. Some of it, I guess, right, is like tacked on for runtime and to stretch things out. But I'm into it, so I don't care, right? So like, Dylan coming around is a cool addition, but like Dylan being in this drug thing, it's like Dylan's got to have something to do other than just be the forgotten brother, right? And which gets them into more crazy antics and dangerous situations, which sends Norman down a darker and darker path.
Right.
And, Norma lying to him. Norma is the enabler. And if it wasn't for her, would Norman become the killer that he is?
That's the nature versus nurture argument with Norman for sure. I think that there's a bit of both going on there, but it makes sense for Dylan to be involved in the drug industry because he was raised by Norma. So he's just as messed up. Like, he can't have a regular stable job. Like, he's getting this illegal job and he's doing a good job at it. Right, but it's just his story is really tragic because he feels like the forgotten son in a lot of ways, like he's the least favorite. And I think that Norma, like in this season, she goes like a full 180 with him from like the beginning where she's like, I hate you, to now she's saying that she loves him and is like so into him.
Because he is providing something to her.
Yes.
Norma is selfish.
Very.
Self-absorbed, and speaking from personal experience, I know how this goes. It's all about what someone can provide to Norma. And Dylan is a rebel. he's a renegade. And he reminds her, of course, of her brother.
Yes.
And so she hates him for that. And she also hates him because he's not subservient to her. Norman is. Right? The reason she prefers Norman is because Norman doesn't have anybody to guide him. And he is more submissive by nature. Yeah. Dylan is a leader. Dylan is somebody who's rebellious. Dylan is someone who fights back, right? Like with my mother, when I was a kid, I was the favorite because I was the most subservient, because like I was the youngest and the most impressionable, and she could get the most out of me. But then as soon as I rebelled, she wanted nothing to do with me, right? And it's because Norma is self-serving, and Dylan starts helping her get Norman back, helping her get things done for her. So she loves him. When he's rebelling against her and he's not providing what she wants from him, she hates him.
I also feel like Norma and Norman are closer, like, in personality as well.
Sure.
Like, they have more in common. But that's because she's
manipulated him into that.
Sure. A lot of it's that, definitely. But just, like, you know, they're a lot more similar than her and Dylan.
And as far, like, I think Dylan might get overlooked as a character for people that are like, oh, this is tacked on for this and that. But it's like, if we are going to make Dylan a character, which we did, right? That's what this show did. You know, because we're familiar with Norman, we're very interested and sympathetic to his story. But it's like, Dylan is also a product of Norma, right? Yes. And he's the good son, right? He's the drug dealer who's the good guy, right? Like Norman on the surface looks like he's got good grades and he helps run the motel with her and he's this loving son, and, you know, he was potentially dating the most popular girl in school, and, you know, all that ended up falling through, of course. And he's got like Emma, who's like the sweetest girl after him, and like, so he seems like the model son. Yeah. But he's a fucking serial killer, right? And Dylan is the one who looks like the mistake of the family, or like, you know, the stain on the name of the town, on the lineage, right? And it's like he's the one who's like good at heart and does the right things. Yeah, he picks a profession that is, you know, not desirable, but when it really comes down to it, Dylan always does the right thing.
Sure, yeah, right? I definitely.
And when it comes down to it, Norman always does the wrong thing.
Yes, I definitely think that as far as morals go, Dylan is definitely the better person. I think that he actually has a conscience, and Norman is so fascinating because I do feel like he has like a split in his personality. Like, I do feel that there's a good person that exists in him that does want to do the right thing. But, you know, the part of him when he blacks out, which, you know, is really cool this season, towards the end we get that it's, you know, it's like a defense mechanism. Like, and it is all his mother's doing, it feels, you know, like that part of him is like his reaction to her.
I think his body or his mind is subconsciously aware that Norma is the reason for this. Yeah. So it effectively takes on her persona because of that. Yes. Like, he's aware that Norma is the reason that he is the way that he is. So when he goes in there, it is a defense mechanism to like, no, it's not me. Yeah. It's Norma. Norma's making me this way. Yeah. And it technically is Norma that is making him that way. Yeah. So he convinces his brain, because you're right, when Norman is good guy Norman, I feel like you're right. And of course you're right, because literally the plot of Psycho is that Norman has a split personality. Yeah. So of course he has a split personality, duh. But like, Norman's mom, Norma, is his bad side. Yes. Right? Now, does he attach Norma to that bad side? Or does Norma bring that bad side out of him and then he creates Norma because of it. I don't know, because that's the nature versus nurture thing. Because of Norma and her brother being as messed up as they were, but they seem to be in a pretty abusive household. What was the dad like? Abusive. I don't know. So, like, it's the chicken and the egg. I really don't know if Norman would have been that way and he would have blamed somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, and attached it to somebody else, or if he would have just been psychotic, whatever, or if Norma did it to him, so he labeled it Norma in his head. And I can, my favorite thing of this season for sure, by far and away, is the really intelligent, smart writing of the very last scene of Norman having to take a polygraph.
Oh my gosh.
And it being like, how's he going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Like, he knows he did it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. Norma did it. And Norman believes that.
Yes.
So he can lie to it because
Yeah.
he's not lying.
Oh my god.
He's like, no, I didn't do it. Now, if they would have asked him who did it,
right.
that would have created a problem. But because it's just, did you kill Blair Watson?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. And he can truthfully say that because in his mind, Norma Bates is who killed her.
Yeah, I absolutely love that scene and the ending with his, like, whenever, you know, they go in after the guy's like, he passed, and he does the whole Norman Bates, you know, the psycho stare.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. Like, it gave me chills when
And
when
she's,
I
like,
saw
right
it.
over his
and
shoulder.
And she's, like, out of focus right behind him. So,
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think
Best
that it's
shot of the
just...
whole show, for sure.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. I do think that's really genius writing, and I love it because, you know, like, I thought during this episode before, I was like, oh, he's going to run away. Like, that's what he's trying to do. And then he gets the gun, and it's like, oh, no, he's trying to kill himself to get out of this. And which is, you know, even more tragic because it's like he knows there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
And he also doesn't want this on his mother, so he's like, I'm gonna kill myself so that she doesn't have to deal with, like, me going to trial and, like, you know, all of that fallout from it.
Sure.
So he's still thinking of Norma, always.
Proving that he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's because of his darkness inside of himself that he wants to eliminate that
Right.
from the world. He's
Yeah.
not... Bad guy Norman is not killing himself.
No,
right?
good guy
Norma
Norman.
is not killing himself.
Yeah.
It's good Norman who's like, I'm a plague.
Yes.
I need to be killed. Right?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like, the you win mother. I don't know if that's Norma or if that's Norman. Because we are into very, very split personality territory now.
It definitely feels like, I think going forward in the next seasons that's going to be, like, much harder to tell. Or maybe not harder to tell, but it's going to be, like, more... I mean, ambiguous is harder to tell. Like, who's at the wheel in Norman? You know, like, if it is his dark side or if it's him. Because I think that, especially the events of this season, like him being kidnapped and locked in that, like, underground, like, bunker thingy, like, that alone is also super traumatizing.
Oh
and
my
like,
God. That's what really
seeing
sets him off.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. Like, Freddie Highmore, he really does a wonderful job as Norman. Like, I truly love his performance, and I think that the way that he can, like, just go, like, out of his body is terrifying. I'm, like, concerned that he's actually doing that. But yeah, all of that was super traumatic, and it is what sets him off. So I think that, like, he's already had so much stuff happen to him. Like, since moving here, like, there's already been so many, like, triggers that are just, like, amping him up, and... you know, he's going to keep killing, obviously, so, but I suspect that it's going to be a lot more intense with his personalities in the next season.
Sure, I mean, in the show so far, the only thing that has set Norman off is extremely stressful situations, like his mother being raped, his mother being abused by his father, you know, a woman... seducing a younger man, a child, I guess.
Sure.
He's like 17, but still
I mean,
a child.
it's physical stress, right? Like the hormones and everything.
But like like at that point, as I said, because and we see it here, right? Like when they're out in, I think it's in the woods. I don't know where this happens. Remind me. I think it's in the woods, but like we straight up see, like this season more than last season. There is much more, like, showing of a I don't want to say sexual, but intimate relationship forming between Norma and Norman.
Oh, yeah.
And she straight up kisses him on the lips.
Yes.
In a very romantic way.
Yes.
And I think that's in the woods, right?
No.
Or is that
yes. The kiss on the lips is in the woods when he's like about to kill himself, and she talks him out of it. That's what I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's in the woods.
So that, like, right there, because that's obviously really fucked up, and that would screw any kid up, his mom coming onto him like that. And not, and I think that's also what screws him up is, like, with Norma, everything is about denial.
Yes.
And it's like, she'll kiss him and make it all like it's romantic. And this is very reminiscent of the Olivia Hussey Psycho 4, where it's like she's in bed with him naked after it's been raining and they're like rubbing up on each other, and then he gets a hard on. She's like, "You pervert!" Like, bro, what?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like uber confusing. Not only on top of like your mom coming on to you, but it's your mom coming on to you and then like being disgusted with you for thinking she's coming on to you.
But it's also like, I do think that they're having a more intimate relationship, but I don't know that they've totally crossed into like sexual territory, and that's like,
because I don't think she'd ever let that happen. I think she lets him get
like,
close to that because she feels that with him, but she's in denial about it because of her past, and so she's like, she lets it go right to that line where it fucks him up, and then screws him up even more by then denying it.
Well, and everything about their relationship, like especially in this season, like they talked, like the way that they talk to each other, like it's supposed to be, it's like you and me, like we're never, like, there's just some lines that it's like, that's what you say to like your lover, like somebody, your partner, not to your son, not to your mother, like you don't have, and obviously that's the whole thing with Psycho, but I just, the way that it's like portrayed in this show is so, it's so great because she does such a good job of having these like mom moments where she can make these like mom expressions, and she just feels like her and Emma's relationship. I mean, although this season it sucks because she's like, I don't care about you, Emma, which is so heartbreaking because Emma's such a sweetheart. But like in the last season, I definitely got the sense that like, oh, she would be like they have this like mother-daughter thing going on. Like I definitely felt that. And then Norma does something like totally opposite of like a motherly type of behavior, and she just can go back and forth between those two extremes to a sense, like so well.
This will sound kind of screwed up, and I don't really have any evidence to back this up. This is just a feeling, and it would be better if she didn't at all and everything was normal, obviously, but that's not how this goes. But I honestly feel like Norman would be better off if Norma was just fucking him. If their relationship was just straight out in the open. Like, she was like, oh, no, we're sexual. And she was fucking the kid. I think, like, he would be more straight in his mind. Because it's the sexual repression and confusion that I feel really fucks him up. That's what ultimately leads him to killing Marion Crane. Yeah. That's what fucking kills Blair Watson. This is, like, his relationship with all women are because of this, like, it's like this give and take repression that Norma puts on him of, like this sexual attraction that's semi-reciprocated, but then like, how could you think such a thing?
I mean, I know what you're saying.
Of course she shouldn't be touching him. There should be none of this, but I'm just saying, of the two, I think Norman might not have been a killer. Or it killed as much.
I don't know, because what I was going to say is that even if it was straight in his mind, there's still society and like the judgment that would come and the shame and everything from that. Like I still think that would be in him. But yeah, his relationship with women is like totally, it's all a projection of his relationship with his mom in some way. And like Cody's in this season too. Mm-hmm. Which is so funny because I feel like so much happens like after Cody leaves. Sure. She's like the total opposite, of Norma. Or I should say she's more like Norma before Norma becomes like the version of herself that she wants to present to the world. Which is, I just think that it's interesting that maybe Norman kind of senses that in some way, which is why he's
drawn
on
to
one
her.
level drawn to her, and of course he's also trying to rebel against his mom a little bit.
I think the natural
her.
side of him, right, the healthy side of him, knows that Norma is bad for him, and so Cody to him is a draw because she is presenting him a different path. She's presenting him this idea of rebellion towards his mother, and he instinctually knows that's a good thing. So he's drawn to this rebellious nature of Cody because she brings him something that he so desperately needs, a disconnect from his mom. He needs to rebel against her because she's not a good person. Cody's not right because she ultimately thinks parents are shit and all of this because she's abused and she's a kid and she doesn't know anything better.
Yeah.
So ultimately she's not a great influence for anybody, but for Norman, even though she is fucked up because her dad's abusing her and everything, Norman instinctually knows that he should get away from his mom. He knows that she's the problem. He can't do it, but Cody presents him an out. Emma is like the polar opposite. She wants in on the family. She wants to come in, and that's why she's like poison to him. She's like the furthest thing he wants because she's too inclusive of his mom. Well, right? Bradley comes to the door. She's rebellious. She's everything Norma isn't. All this thing. Like he instinctually knows that's the right thing. And Emma, even though she's personal, I mean, my personal preference, she's the best chick in the show. She wants in on the family too much, and that is not appealing to Norman. Norman knows that ultimately leads back to Norma because Emma craves Norma's acceptance.
Yes.
And craves that family affection. And she wants to be a bait. Like she would love to be one of the baits.
Yeah.
Right? So she's like, if Norman was to stay with her, he would never get away from his mom. Now he, like on the surface level, that's what he wants. He wants to be with his mom all the time. But I think in his subconscious, it's like, she's the poison. Get away from her. Emma is another path back to her.
Yeah, but it makes sense that Emma would want to be a part of it, because she doesn't have a mom, which is the whole, Norma being like a surrogate for her, and why it's so sad this season, though, like with the coldness that Norma responds. I mean, she comes to her just like in tears, like, you guys are not telling me what's happening and I want to help, and this is a family business and yada yada, so I'm gonna go so you don't have to like not tell me anything anymore. And she's just like, all right, well, we'll miss you, and then shuts the door in her face. And it's like, I kind of don't understand. I mean, I do and I don't. Like, I understand that Norma has, like, she doesn't care about that at the moment because she's so focused on, like, getting Norman home safe. Like, but I also kind of felt... Because it
doesn't serve her.
It doesn't serve her, but I also feel like, she had wanted Norman to be with her. So it's funny that it's like she's wanting to cut her out now, but I guess you're right. It's just that there's like nothing that she can do for her anymore.
Because she knows that she can't let anyone else in on things because that could jeopardize what she wants. What she wants is Norman. And if Norman gets caught up in Blair Watson's murder or this drug trade, like if Dylan goes down, whatever, she doesn't really care. Like she cares because he can give her something. But if he died rescuing Norman, she would be like, oh my God, like he would be a martyr and beloved in her mind forever because he protected what she really loves. If Norman died protecting Dylan, she would hate Dylan till the day he died.
Yeah.
Right? So it all comes back to Norman. And with Emma, it's just she is an outsider who could present problems if she told her the truth.
Yeah.
So even though she does like Emma, I do think that Norma cares for Emma. She cares for Norman and herself way more.
Yeah.
Way more. So she doesn't really care. I feel kind of bad for Olivia Cooke, the actress here, because I feel like this season, Emma literally has no plot in this outside of just like being on the outside, being like, what's going on, everybody?
I know.
Can I be a part of this?
Felt like that
no?
too.
Okay, that's all I can do in this season.
I mean, she does have some stuff, with Cody, like whenever they go to the river and she has her... Sure. I mean, but it sets Norman off, and like Norman cares about her a lot. obviously, like, that's his reaction and everything. So she does have some purpose, but it's definitely a lot less than it was in the first season when she was, like, you know, part of this love triangle that was going on. And then ever since she got with the weed boy, she's kind of like, you know, not as much of a romantic, you know, interest for Norman.
Right.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Dylan too. Like, every time Norma comes to him and is, like, asks him for something, like, he always kind of tries to push back a little bit, but ultimately, like, when she pleads with him, like, she can still manipulate him into doing what she wants
Because he craves her
wants
affection.
He wants her love so much, and
yeah.
it's so awful because I'm just like, and there's so much that happened this season. Everything with Norma and, like, the high society people.
Yeah.
Like, the party scene, when we were watching that episode, I was, like, really nervous that she was gonna do something, like, crazy.
Yeah.
And instead she's, like, super charming and fun. And it's just, like, you know, seeing scenes like that, seeing that side of Norma, you're just like, why can't you be a good person? Like, why can't you be normal?
She's incapable.
She's so incapable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a ton that happens, right? Norma starts dating this guy, George, and, you know, totally goes psycho on him.
Oh my God.
He comes over to the friggin' place, she's screaming at him, you know, then she goes to his house for dinner, and she fucks him, but then she tells Norman she tried to sleep with him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that meant she didn't sleep with him. I think she's in she's either in total denial about her sexual activity because she's fucking you know, the dude from last season, and she's totally lying about that, Shelby.
Yeah.
And then in this one, they had sex.
Yeah.
I mean, they had sex, right? And she, like, it's weird. I'll keep my politics to myself, but it reminded me very heavily of someone because, like, it's this weird, like, admittance of truth, like, in this kind of, like, very transparent way where she's sitting there talking to Norman, and she's kind of like, I even tried to, like, sleep with him.
Yeah.
And that's, like, this really, like, nobody would lie about that. That's not a way to lie. But you would say, like, oh, he wanted to sleep with me and I wouldn't sleep with him. Like, that's the way you lie about that. The way she lies is very weird because it feels very truthful. It's something you would never, ever think she's lying about.
But that's why I think she does it. Like, I feel like, and I don't even, like, she's one of those people that I don't even know that she's 100% aware of her lies and manipulation. Sure. Like, I think that it's just such a part of her. But I felt that when she said that, like, she didn't want to admit to Norman, obviously, that she had slept with somebody because of their relationship.
Why would she even bring it up? Like, because she wants to make him jealous or something.
Yeah, sure, to make him jealous. And like you said, it's such a believable lie to be like, I even tried to sleep with him. Like, I tried to use my body and that didn't work. But it is also, I think, to make him jealous. Because he got super jealous in the last season. And even in this, you know, like, with him, like, when he comes to the hospital or whatever, and he's just like, why is he here? Or the police department, I mean, after Cody's dad. And, you know, he does not approve of any of the men that Norma has tried to be with so far. Which, of course, all the men that she's tried to really be with, she's done so for ulterior motives, you know? So it's not like she's actually trying to find, like, a father for him or anything. Like, these are all just, like... Flings, and ultimately, like, what's the word? Competition for Norman. Mm. You know, so he's never gonna approve of them. And, It was definitely like a wild ride with her, and like I just love the episode when she meets Ford after she meets Ford, and he's like, you just have to go here, and like she goes to the freaking whatever environmentalist guy, and she's like so happy and like, oh wow, like everything's going my way, right. And it's like, come on, Norma, like, but it sucks because
she loves to live in denial.
Yes. Like, she does want to think that the world is always working for her. Otherwise, she's smart enough that she should have been able to put it together that, like, no, there's something that somebody else is benefiting from this, but she doesn't want to because, like you said, it's the denial that she wants to exist in.
Vera has the greatest who me face in the history
Oh my
of film.
god, she does.
The like,
I love her expressions.
What do you mean? Oh, I didn't know that was what was happening here. Like,
oh my god.
what?
I know.
Because she sells it so believably.
Well, and she sells it to herself
Yes,
too. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the thing with Norma. Like
She's a fucking like
compulsive liar, for sure.
no.
But
What's the other word? Liar. The not compulsive. Freaking. Oh, come on.
I don't know.
Why can't we not? Neither one of us come up with it. Oh wow.
I don't know.
Punch
Like
myself
literally,
in the
all I'm
face.
thinking of is compulsive liar.
Yeah. No.
Habitual.
No. No. She lies. She lies so much. She's lying to herself.
Yes.
Right. And she's very good at it. I don't know if she's meaning to.
Yeah. I don't know.
But man, she's unbelievable.
They also, the whole musical thing happens. Like, seriously, so much happens this
That's where
season.
she meets Christine.
Because that's where she meets Christine,
Yeah.
and that's also where Norman meets Cody and Tech and everything. But, like, yeah, all of that, like, her storming out, or like just like their interaction whenever they leave the audition, and she's like manipulating him into like not going to help oh my god, I can't believe I forgot her name.
Who?
Bradley and everything. Right, like just all of that was so good. Like just their interaction and how horribly manipulative she is. But then when she goes back in and sings, like, I don't know, it's just that's another moment where you're like, you want her to be happy.
I want to see, after seeing how lovely her voice is in this, I want to see Ed and Lorraine Warren do a duet in the Conjuring TV series.
Oh my god!
I guess I would assume they're going to be in it.
They better be in it. If they tried to recast them, I mean, I would still watch it, but oh my god, like their chemistry and that, like that would be a horrible decision to recast it.
Yeah. Then we have Zane and his sister Jody, which I don't understand the ending, because like Nick Ford's death is kind of anticlimactic. I was like, that's it? His guards didn't do anything to help, and Dylan's able to just run right out the door. That seemed like lazy writing. And the fact Nick gets killed so easily and that they rescue Norman, I don't know. That all just seemed very anticlimactic. And then like the Zane Jody stuff gets wrapped up pretty easily. Like Jody goes to sell her brother out by like pretending not to and being like, yeah, he did whatever I told him to because that's what I do. And this is like Dylan's romantic relationship for this season.
Yeah. Right?
Bradley was the last season. This is his new one. And I don't understand why Romero and Dylan let Jody get shot like that. It made no sense to me.
I always
like, why weren't they there when he walked in? Why didn't they take him under arrest or kill him immediately?
I feel like Dylan definitely would have, but it almost feels like
Romero let it happen.
Yeah, it was like, because his character is so weird too. I'm like, he's like corrupt, but he's like trying to use his corruption to like get rid of the actually corrupt people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like really bizarre, even though obviously like he covers for Norma and everything. But I think in this season we actually started to see too that he has a thing for Norma. So I won't be surprised if there's some weird relationship that develops between them. Just like his comment that he could like, that you can see through the blinds into her window, like he's watching and stuff. And like, yeah, he's doing too much for their family, even though he's like threatening to reopen the case, you know, for Blair.
Yeah.
He's still, I just feel like he's not hard enough on them with the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Romero like let her die.
I do too, but why did Dylan?
I don't know. That
makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Like, I mean, why didn't he have a gun out? Because he thought Romero was going to stop. I don't understand why he... See, to me, why Dylan wouldn't be like, why didn't you stop him?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what the fuck? Like, I was into her.
Sure.
Like, right? Like,
I mean,
her death
was
just is
into
kind of
her,
whatever to him.
I know, but
this doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't feel like he was super into her.
But okay.
But I know what you're saying.
Just letting her die like that, he's kind of like, what happens now? And
he's like getting rid of his competition in the like weed industry, and now that both of those bosses are dead, like maybe he's like the next in line to run this company.
I just feel like Nick Ford, Zane, Jody, that whole subplot gets wrapped up way too conveniently. That Dylan gets away with it too easily.
Yeah.
Zane shoots his sister. It's just all too quick. It's all too simple.
It does feel a bit rushed, for sure.
And, Dylan has like no reaction to her death. And I'm just like, and he's like, there's going to be a power vacuum and you got to do the right thing. And I don't know. That just felt off to me. Other than that, I thought everything was great. It's just the ending of all of those. And then also what I would like to add, which we did not add before, was, and this is something we had mentioned last season, but we did not mention in the last video. I can't stop seeing it. The actor who plays Romero looks so much like Anthony Perkins.
He does. He really has like the same facial structure and like of course the eye color and everything. Like,
I mean, Norman didn't wear eyeliner. I'm just kidding. He doesn't wear eyeliner. Okay, look it up.
They look very similar, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that was never the score, so I don't know what the hell that is, but the Suns won, I guess. Okay, good. Missing the game for these reviews, y'all. Okay, just so y'all know, that's how dedicated I am to this channel. But that's that. I think I'm looking forward to the rest.
I am too.
There's some really great stuff coming. That's wild for sure. And
oh man.
Yeah, of course, we're all here for Norman and Norma. And the show delivers 10 times over on that. Yes. So even if you don't like the subplots of Dylan and Emma and anybody else, which I don't understand, like, you just want to watch Norma and Norma, like, in a house together for a show, like, there's got to be more going on. Regardless, the show in the core, which is Norma and Norma, is so strong.
Yes.
I can't imagine anyone not watching this.
I can't either. I mean, this is like quickly becoming like one of my favorite horror series for sure. Like it's just so perfect on so many levels, and it makes me want to watch the movies. It makes me think, like, I get like these types of shows where I'm gonna be really bummed when we have to finish it. Oh, sure. Like to the point where I might try and like hold off.
No, we gotta get the next 3 seasons done in the next 3 weeks.
But I just always get so sad because I know there won't be anything else after. But
sure, there is. We have so many things to watch.
No, I mean for this show, because but at the same time, like, not every show can go on indefinitely, so there must be an end, which is totally fine. But yeah, I'm just really excited to see what happens, and to keep being like, what the fuck? Like every time Norma's like touching him, like caressing his face, and they're like dancing and
So I hope that the showrunners and writers of the Friday the 13th TV series by A24 take note of this show, because I've been saying for years, the core of the Friday the 13th franchise is the love between Mrs. Voorhees and Jason, right? Pamela and Jason's love is what makes Pamela go off. It makes what Jason goes off. And we've never seen their relationship in film.
Sure, yeah.
We have 12 Friday the 13th. We see this much relationship between Jason and Pamela. I want to see a show that goes into the backstory of Pamela and Jason's relationship as mother and son, and why she's so psychotic when he dies. I've written the whole show in my head. And if it's not that, it isn't, right? We probably won't even deal with Pamela. She'll be dead and Jason will just be in the woods. But it's A24. So I have very high hopes. My only problem with that is that most people are morons. They just want stabby.
Yeah, but
And I'm just like, dude,
I
there
don't
has
know,
to be
man.
more to the series
With
than
an
that. There just
A24,
has to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be just stabby. I think that there's gonna be.
It can't be.
Like but I definitely am like, because it's A24. Like, I just don't see them making.
Because they always deal with family.
Yeah, exactly. But it's gonna be complex, and that's
Yes.
great because Friday the 13th is a wonderful franchise, but it's like.
Simple.
It's simple, and it feels very like, it is basic. Like, Jason Voorhees, like, he comes and kills, like, camp counselors, and like,
Yep.
that's it. Like,
Yep.
that's the heart of it. Like, you're watching those movies to watch him kill, and also for the counselors, like, for the characters themselves, right? But and this is what we talk about all the time with, like, Michael Myers and stuff. Like, it's so much more interesting, and this is why the Bates Motel and Psycho is so fantastic, is because you have a complex killer. Like, you have that character where you can see, like, so many different sides to them, and it doesn't redeem them or anything, but it just makes for a more interesting story. And if they could make Jason, like, a more interesting character, like, I love Jason, but like I love Jason. But that would be really cool to get that kind of, like, depth added to the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
So
We'll see.
we'll see.
But anyways, we'll see you next week for Bates Motel Season 3. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye!